All right. Good day to you. This is Dalen over here, and welcome to our very first session of working in UX design for the year 2026. I hope the year has begun really well for you and that good things are coming your way. Today, we have a very special guest who is also a dear friend of mine, Sigit. And also, a little known fact, Sigit has been my ex-colleague for a very, very brief period of time while we were both freelancing on a project with regards to Indonesia. So Sigit is an Indonesian and also a Singaporean PR who is a design leader and quite a well-known one in this industry and this sector. And today we are covering the topic of compassionate leadership, compassionate leadership in high tempo teams. So, what do we mean by compassionate leadership in high tempo teams? Sigit has worked over 17 years with different companies like TripAdvisor, Shopify, Expedia, and DBS, and most recently Utrip, right? So he's worked for different companies in various high-tech startups, based in Singapore, based in Indonesia, and he has actually been given as a leader lots of targets, lots of goals and expectations. And today he's going to share with us how he's going to combine his experience with craft, balancing craft and people leadership, and actually trying to find that sweet spot, that middle ground, so that as a leader, as a middle manager, we can manage up effectively, but we can also manage down and not have our team members hate us. Because he said one of the reasons why he cares so much about this topic is because he's had good managers, but he's also had bad ones, right? So
Mm.
this is one of the topics we're going to explore and how we're going to take care of our team so that they can take care of the business. And what does it mean to be compassionate, right? What does compassionate leadership even mean? So welcome to the show, Sigit. How's your
Thank you,
year
Dylan.
starting?
Wonderful. Yeah, a lot of
Excellent.
busy stuff starting this year,
Yeah, I'm so
including this
glad
one.
you could. I'm so glad you could do this with us. I know you've recently left Utrip, and thank you for doing this with us while you're actually moving.
Yep.
So yeah, can you briefly tell us what exactly is compassionate leadership? What does that mean?
Yeah, thank you, Dylan, and hi everyone. I think compassionate leadership is a bit of sometimes people don't match them together because when they think about leadership, they think about um, being stern and being tough on people. When you put compassionate into it, it's just kind of like softens things up much more. But I would say that this have to go together hand in hand, simply because I think in this point in time, um, a lot of people have demonstrated like strong leadership, but not a lot of people have actually demonstrated something compassionate, which is like touching more of the human side. So as
Mm,
Dalen mentioned, I think this came up to my mind because I've been a manager, although not like really in managing a big team. I've been a middle manager most of the time, and I've learned how to like manage up and around. But I think equally, I feel like it's good to really like manage down. Manage down as in like you don't always. It's not necessarily like you're kind of like distributing the task only or like instructing people what to do. It's more about like understanding their needs as well, because when you understand your reports, their needs, their like psychological needs, their personal needs, even like personal goals, I believe the team will be stronger.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah, and earlier we were speaking about how different it is to manage
Mm.
up versus managing down, right? And
Yeah,
these are entirely two different skill sets. So from
that's
your
right.
experience,
Yeah.
what does it take to manage up well, and what does it take to manage down well? Yeah.
Yeah, managing app requires a lot of like transparency and accountability.
Mm,
So basically, you need to be able to report back to your boss on what's happening and be accountable for the outcomes, and then listening to their needs as well. I think there's also a part of like compassion here to the to your bosses, kind of listening what they need and then translating that into around and down. But most likely it's about business and operations, right? Sometimes it feels very cold, but
mm,
managing down is kind of like I mentioned about like, okay, you're distributing tasks, you're kind of like managing the workload, unblocking them. But also maybe when I said unblocking, you have to be able to kind of like understand the workload
mm,
and distribute it in a nice way that it doesn't burden them. So I would say it's comparable to like when you are when you're a chef, you kind of like you know the strengths of each of your staff. Like maybe one is more
mm,
of like a like slicing stuff, and the other one is more like
mm,
maybe thinking
mm.
about seasoning. So
Yeah,
and at the same time you have to like understand their challenges. Either it's like professional challenges or like personal challenges. Yeah.
yeah. At some point, we're gonna like count how many cooking analogies are used in our podcast. But I fully agree with you. There's so much in common between cooking and UX.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us like yeah, who's the best person you've met that manages up very well? What did you learn from him or her? Um,
um
yeah.
yeah, I think, to be honest, the managers I've known who are really good at managing up, actually it gravitates towards managing up only. I feel like they're strong in managing
Mm,
up
mm, mm,
and
mm, mm.
around maybe.
Yeah. So
um
what do you find that they share in common?
yeah, they are very like they know how to communicate like whatever progress we have to the
Mm,
leadership in a transparent and accountable manner. So I
mhm,
can see this because they would like sometimes invite me to like meetings with
mm,
stakeholders, and then you can
mm,
see how they demonstrate like a really good communication skill, really
mhm,
good like I wouldn't say like saving the fire, but when something goes wrong, they can
mm,
always pivot or maybe save the save the day sort of, and
mm.
kind of like make them feel everything is okay. Yeah,
Right. So they're really good at framing. They're really good at
yeah,
communication, whether it's spoken or written.
that's right.
Those are the
Yes,
traits. They're really good at being effective in communicating goals and how we meet
that's right.
them.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hearing. So who, other than yourself, who do you think manages well down, and what do you find that they all have in common? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right at that. Like, actually, I'm more kind of like a managing around and down person. I'm to be honest,
Mm,
I'm not really good at managing up. Maybe I need something that I need to improve.
mm,
But yeah, I mean, those who are good at managing down, I feel like they have a strong perception of like, hey, they really honor the people, like the human side of the team members. For example, um they don't really fuss about like small things, for example, or they will always start with they will always start one-on-ones with like, hey, how's your day doing? It's not
mm,
about work, it's more like about like how you feel
mm,
in the past week or 2 weeks. And then I remember, I think when I was like so sick maybe 4 years ago, I was
mm,
I diagnosed with something, and I needed more rest than usual.
mm,
And this manager just, hey, Sigit, that's okay. You can just like, take a rest any time of the day, even though it's remote work, right? So you can just take a time off any time of the day. So I felt really appreciated back then. Yeah.
Mm. Well, thank you for sharing that. And but how do you kind of like strike that balance, right? Because you're like,
Mm,
oh, I have to get all my targets hit. I have to be accountable to the
mm,
management. But
that's
then
right.
you're like, oh man, this team member just got COVID and like they're away for like a few days.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, it's so unfortunate. It's like crunch time right now. But then the team member has like a family member like pass away or something like that, or it's hospitalized. And you want to show care, but then you're like, geez, it's just like more work on everyone. So how do you kind of strike that balance?
Yeah, I think that's the job of the manager. I feel
Mm,
like the manager has, yeah, it's a difficult job, right? So basically, um, it's a you have to bear. Sometimes you have to bear like the burden a little bit more during like tough
mm,
situations.
yeah,
So when you mention about like if you are under capacity, then you need to step in.
yeah,
Maybe you can ask for help from others, but yeah, you need to be able to step in. I think the goal here is to really save time and energy for your team members. I used to have like a report who, well, she could do everything and she wants to do everything and she's willing to do it, like even overtime and everything. Like, hey, Sigi, just give it to me. But then I think the feedback that I've gotten from my peers is that like her work is like kind of like all over the place and it's very confusing to look at a Figma file, for example. So
mm,
my job is to then to understand why do you want to take a lot more and why can
mm,
we work things out together so that you don't really burn out in this case. So my job as a manager is to either to step in or to kind of work with them to
mm.
reallocate some of this burden. Yeah.
So if I understand you correctly, being a compassionate leader isn't just about being nice or
Mm,
showing care, right? It's also figuring out the person's motivation.
yeah.
It's
Yes.
also trying to be strategic about it and seeing, as you said, using the cooking analogy, like
Yeah.
are their skills and talent being applied in the right way? So is there any other qualities
Yeah.
you would say
Yeah.
embody compassionate leadership? Yeah.
Yeah. I do have one. I think my principle has always been like you shouldn't tell people or like give feedback only when things go wrong, like finger pointing
Mm,
or whatever, but you
mm.
should be able to also tell them and everyone if things go right. So
I see.
in this case, like you need to be able to uh like appreciate whatever the person does, and even though there's some gaps, there's
Mm,
always like some other sides that fill the gap, and we can try to fill the other gaps nicely if we talk about it. Yeah.
certainly.
Mm.
So I also get the impression that you're if you're kind of like helping to step in and
Mm.
to kind of bridge the gap in terms of capacity, it almost feels like you're a sponge. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but if you're taking care of the team, then shouldn't you also be taking care of yourself? And
Yes, yes, yes,
then
yes.
wouldn't you feel burnout if you keep being the sponge?
Yeah. So basically, I think you're right about that. I feel like we need to take care of ourselves first and
Mm,
prioritize ourselves too. I
mm,
think what I mean is by like stepping up is it's not always like firefighting kind of thing. Maybe
mm,
sometimes yes, but I think managers, and I'm still also struggling with this, is to make it more scalable and more like
mm,
like proper, right? So for example, maybe we anticipate way in advance that maybe there's a need to like fill this gap. Maybe like the person will go sick or maybe going on vacation or something else, and then work with our own like manager managing up to set up the expectation. So basically, being compassionate about like the subordinates mean that we also have to be able to manage up expectations from the higher
Mm.
ups. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, um, just wondering, like, how do you get started? Let's say, okay, before we go there, like, can you can you tell me from your experience, like,
Mm,
maybe as someone who is has been a subordinate, if your leader is compassionate and is demonstrating compassionate leadership, what's the difference? Or when you're applying compassionate leadership versus a team that's not applying compassionate leadership, what's the
mm.
difference?
Um, I feel like for teams who have compassionate leaders, um, yeah, I've had some teams before like this. They kind of like miss the absence of this leader, and
Mm.
even long after they haven't worked with the company or maybe the team, they have like a fond memory of working
Okay,
together. So I
okay.
think like, and I don't know, I came from like like work culture in Indonesia where it's not
Mm,
perfect, but we do have
mm,
some sense of like camaraderie, like
mm,
closeness in some
mm.
teams like that we kind
It's
of
not
like
always about distance in Indonesia, right?
yeah. But I'm not saying that Singapore is not like that. But I think Asia in general is probably like that.
Mm,
And
mm,
also from like professional point of view, I feel like you are being appreciated, and you then for me, I feel like I'm more motivated to do work, and I feel good about myself. And then I can feel like if I'm interviewing for another job, I feel like I'm more confident about it because, oh yeah, I did a good job at this company. Versus like
mm,
when you work for a company or a team that I don't say not appreciating you, but more like maybe it's less compassionate. Maybe oh yeah, it's just a job that I perform. I don't know if I'm doing well or not. So it's kind of like
mm.
a bit difficult to measure for me. Yeah.
This is an interesting observation you shared. Basically, what I hear you say is that a compassionate leader creates or nurtures subordinates that are more motivated
Yeah.
to work for the company, but
Mm,
also feel more confident about their
yeah.
skill sets,
Yeah.
right? And I know you run it. Did you author something called Forever an Imposter?
Oh yeah, I did. Yes.
Is that a newsletter or is that a book or is
It's an ebook that I wrote like two
oh,
years
okay.
ago.
All right. So it's kind of related to your ebook, right?
Yeah.
Like we all feel like imposters sometimes.
Thanks for mentioning my
So
book.
yeah, we all well, is it free to download or do people have to pay on your website?
uh, Unfortunately, you have to pay, but
But it's a small fee, right? It's a
small.
small fee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. Like, why don't you tell us a little bit like why did you write it? And yeah, how compassionate leadership makes
Yeah.
someone feel less like an imposter. Yeah.
Okay. So to be honest, I think I've always been like the introvert, like not confident side of person when
Mm,
working, even since
mm,
I first worked.
mm,
I always felt like I was inferior. I think it's a pretty common thing in Indonesia where you don't really like, show up and be talking to the room.
mm,
And I felt like back then I needed more support than I needed to. Like I needed more assurance, like, hey, you're doing uh, this job well, or something like that. And as I
yeah.
progressed in my career, I gained more confidence, and I felt like even then, as you went into more companies, if especially if it's like a higher standard companies, then you will go into the baseline again. You need to be, you know, build your confidence again to work with like
Mm,
a higher standard. So that's why I feel like it's always an imposter because in every company you kind of like hopefully you go into a higher standard company that you grow yourself. So I think in a sense it's more like a growth uh mindset that you kind
mm.
of like be but also be humble about it. Yeah.
So what I also understand from what you just shared is that if you meet a compassionate leader, who is welcoming you to work in your team,
Mm,
does it mean that you feel less like an imposter and you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
more welcome and you feel like you part of the company a lot earlier, right? So you can essentially like you're onboarding that person, but the
Mm,
person has feels less of a ramp to kind of be
yeah,
onboarded. It's like a lot smoother.
yeah. I always
Yeah.
believe that when like a manager, hiring manager chose us,
Mm.
it's partially a bet, right? So
It is a bad. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of like interview this person to the best of your ability, but you never know whether this
Correct.
person is going to perform to your best. So so basically I appreciate like hiring managers who took a lot of bet on me, maybe like 60% bet, 40% like, interview.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in that case, kind of like even maybe if like you come in and then you're not like up to the standard, maybe there's a bit of like, trust and belief in the process. So I feel like
Mm.
I've been in companies that offered this, and I felt like were the best kind of companies that I work for. And
And
uh,
are you right to say you stayed longer there as well?
that's right. So I mean, not necessarily,
Mm.
but like some of these companies actually, I can
Mm.
return to, or maybe I stay
Mm.
longer, or maybe
Mm.
I keep in touch with the team until now. Yeah.
So it's great for employee retention. It's great for employee engagement. I
Yes,
think these are all metrics that HR cares a lot about.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm convinced that compassionate leadership is suitable
Hmm.
for my team. Uh, how do I get go about starting it, right? Let's say I'm a leader today, and today as a leader, I believe I should be feared more than loved, right? So what kind of advice would you give me to get started in compassionate leadership? Yeah.
I think okay. I don't want to ask people to like just be soft and be nice all of a sudden. I think
Yes.
everybody has their own way of like bringing themselves to others. So I
Mm,
wouldn't like force any kind of like mold into them. But I think one thing that I want them to start is maybe to unblock more your team,
mm.
and
What do you
maybe
mean by that? What do you mean by unblock?
like for example the one of the report that I had, right? So she was like doing all the stuff and she was like over performing, like burning out. What if we can kind of like maybe not unblock is not necessarily the best word. It's more like how can I
Mm,
give this person the best experience possible in doing her job?
mm,
Maybe that could be
mm.
unblocking like some.
Maybe that's I think that's a word for it. We
Yeah,
use it in sales as well. It's called enablement. So it's like how do I enable someone?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So, but the perspective should be in the well-being of that person. Like maybe if
Well-being of that
yeah,
person.
she needs more time to
Mm,
do like one focused like some people really want focused time, so maybe we give a more time block for them to do the job. Some other people maybe need more validation, so maybe we could like kind of like appreciate more.
mm,
Some other people maybe need more because they have a family, maybe we need more flexibility in time. So I feel like yeah, the best experience. Like I'm a UX designer, I want to give the best experience to my team members as well.
team
Maybe that's
member.
yeah, that's one thing. Maybe like give the best UX to your team.
I love that framing and I love that so that you sort of mentioned that and how it's related to UX. But I'm also conscious of the fact that today we're talking not just about compassionate leadership, but
Yeah.
compassionate leadership in high tempo teams. So the fact
Mm.
that you're working in a tech startup,
Yeah.
uh, targets are aggressive.
Yeah.
Sometimes OTs over times are quite
Yeah.
common.
Hmm.
So yeah, you can't just be nice all the time, right? Like
That's right.
how do you know if someone is not just being lazy, right? Or how do you know someone is not just like intentionally trying to take advantage of you as a nice leader. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the good. That's like the other side of it, right? It's a good
Mm.
question. I'm the type of person who actually trusts people a lot more. I give
Yeah. So
like
you give the benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
yeah. Some people say like autonomy or like trust is earned. I would say
Mm.
maybe I give 50% at least of trust and autonomy in the beginning, and then the rest will be earned.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like if like this person doesn't perform to the best of the like to 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 this benefit, then yeah, I mean there's time that we need to be stepping up into this and just be firm on that person. Hey, I give you this autonomy and trust. Probably you could fill this gap, and if you cannot fill this gap, is there anything that I could help to for you to fill that gap? Then I
Mm.
mean, in this case, when things go wrong, I would really lean towards like maybe two or three kind of like tries to fix the problem before actually I don't know
Yeah.
like terminating or like whatever so kind
Mm.
of like maybe a bit more time to
Mm.
develop this person. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to recognize how calm you've been in sharing and advocating and practicing
Yeah.
whatever we're preaching today, which is compassionate leadership.
Yeah.
But also trying being very, very cognizant and understanding of the environment, right? The macro environment right now.
Yep.
A lot of CEOs, a lot of um,
Yep.
business leaders are saying, "Hey, this is war, right? This is wartime.
Wartime.
That's a way to lead when it's peacetime. It can be nice and everything can be about sunshine and rainbows. And there's a way to lead when it's wartime.
Mm,
So I'm just wondering, like, how would you contextualize your approach? Like, given that now management is like, hey, we really want to see impact. Uh,
mm,
Performance is really the key because if not, even above average performers could be cut, right? You have to be a high performer. If not even above average, you could be cut. So
mm,
you have all these realities, right?
mm.
Stacking against you. And I'm sure your management has told you, hey, I want you to cut your one weakest team member, right? It just becomes like a hit count exercise, like give me
Yeah.
one of your team members that to cut,
Understand.
right? So how do you kind of manage that with compassion? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard, I think, nowadays to actually be full on like soft or compassionate even, but I feel like there's always a way to put some a little bit of compassion in your everyday life, even
Mm.
if it's difficult. Yeah, I mean, even if you have to like let go of someone, there's also a
Yeah,
compassionate
yeah.
way.
Tell
Yeah,
me, how do you fire someone?
I
That's really a nice place to start.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
compassionately.
I haven't really fired someone, but I feel like
Okay.
maybe if I would have to do it, I would make I would have made sure that I did all the things I can to fix
Mm,
the problem, to work together. Maybe
mm.
one or two times, maybe not necessarily PIP, but more like, hey, is there anything I can help you? Is there
It's like
anything that,
this is everything we've done together to save your job as much as we
yes,
can.
yes.
So it's
So
kind of almost like your buddy. You're trying to save your buddy.
yes, so it's not a surprise, right? So, but at the end
Mm,
of it, then if it doesn't work, then
it
yeah,
doesn't work.
unfortunately, we have to
Mm.
like let you go. But yeah, I'm doing this from purely like the business perspective. I still believe in you that you probably have a good fit somewhere else. So I mean,
Mm.
even like small
So
communication
it's kind of like
works.
cushioning that maybe that impact on the person's confidence, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yes,
you can fire them. That's the reality, and that's the action you have to take as a leader. But then you
yeah,
don't have to make them feel bad about it.
yeah. Because I believe like every designer, sorry, every person, not only designer, has their own fit somewhere else, right? It's like
Mm,
maybe I'm not saying like you're bad. you just don't fit here, but you might
Mm.
be a fit somewhere else. So it's kind of like a matter of fit more than you're a bad or a good person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to, well, rehabilitating me as a manager, let's say I don't want I want to be feared, I don't want to be loved. Um,
Mm.
what else can I practice, right? What else can I practice other than taking some steps and saying, hey, I know it's good for employee retention and stuff like that. What else can I do as a manager to be more compassionate?
Mm, maybe take a look at like the overall like employee experience as a baseline for like not profitability but like an opportunity for the business to do better. I feel
Mm,
like if you have a good team, then at least you will have a good word outside, right? Hey, people want to work for you more, and then maybe you will attract more talents. Um, and
mm,
you see if you go into like review sites like Indeed or Glassdoor or whatever, you can sense that whether this company has a good review or not, like good experience or not. So I think it's yeah, it's also a matter of like giving the overall employee experience
mm.
a better better vibe.
Yeah, I think that kind of conversation is always hard to I'll say swallow for a
Mm,
manager because they're just part of the whole machine, right? Uh,
yep, that's right.
and yeah, and HR hates it. I mean, HR hates all those Glassdoor reviews and will tell people, hey, go and give 5 stars to the company. But but still it doesn't change the fact that people have to do what they have to do in really tough times to get along. Um, but I also understand from something you wrote is this practice of radical candor. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, what is radical candor, and why is it related to compassionate leadership?
Yeah, I think radical candor is a concept that's not new. I think Kim Scott probably was the
Correct.
initial.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
read the book.
She wrote it.
It's
Yeah,
it's a it's a wonderful book, by the way.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's like a de facto like Bible for managers. Yeah, compassionate. Sorry. Radical candor. I think essentially means that like you're being radically firm about things. You speak facts and you speak business maybe, but you're doing it with a candor. more like more like I don't know if she means like cushioning
Mm.
it, but more like yeah,
Yeah, it's like
in
care. Like
it's
I,
like
I think
care. Yeah.
yeah. If I remember the book I correctly, I think it's about if you if you are effective but you don't
Mm.
care, um, you are labeled an a-hole, right? But if you care and you are not effective, you're like a doormat. I think that's something along the lines that she said. Kim might butcher me on this, but yeah, that's what I remember from the book. But
Yeah.
she says the best leaders practice both, right? She
Yeah.
says they are both effective, but they also show care and
Yeah.
they are transparent in their approach. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's similarity to the concept of like compassionate leadership and like radical candor.
Mm,
But I was also like maybe add from my experience is that um caring also means like you understand the like some cultural differences that might be there. Yeah, this is
mm,
just my addition to the point that so for example, like like if you work with somebody from a different country of culture, maybe there's like a different
yes.
way of doing things, and sometimes we just reject that idea unconsciously. But maybe as a leader, you have to know, oh yeah, maybe that's a kind of like a different cultural aspect to it. Maybe some people are more outspoken, some people are more like
Yeah. So
where
not
they
jumping
might
into conclusions, right?
yeah. So
Mm,
caring here, I would so radical candor, I agree, but maybe the care I will put more emphasis to it, to the point that it will,
Mm,
yeah, give more value to the individual.
yeah. So
Mm,
Sigit, I know you're an elite product designer who's worked
yeah.
for different companies from Chinese to Americans to Canadians to Singaporeans.
Mm,
And you come from a culture that really values relationships, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Placing emphasis on that first. That's why I know of the Indonesian culture.
Mm,
What is something you wish other people would adopt from your culture, right?
mm,
As part of work culture, just even, yeah, like I mean, that's always good and bad for each and every like
mm,
kind of company culture or even like country culture. But
mm.
what's one thing about Indonesia or Indonesians that you wish that other cultures would adopt? Yeah,
Yeah,
in as part of work. Yeah.
yeah, that's one thing that we probably really good at is about, exactly what you said, like building relationship and just talking heart to heart. I know
Mm.
it sounds like really
It sounds
contradictory.
very fluffy, right?
Yeah, but I feel like, um,
Mm.
yeah, we I don't know if it's still true. I haven't worked with an Indonesian company for a long time,
Yeah.
but there's another degree of like relationship building as a coworker. I would say in Indonesia, like you work together, but you also kind of like uh, have another layer. So, one example for this is when I was working in Indonesia back then, I had to
Mm.
visit different cities to. So basically, I was designing an e-learning product for a
Mm.
company. Yeah, I
Mm.
can mention the name. It was Oracle.
Mm.
And I had to like visit schools and in different cities to actually do training to the teacher and students. And I worked with this lady who kind of like a teacher in a city. So basically, we in that trip we didn't stay in a hotel, but we stayed in at her house. So in this case, it was about building relationship with the customer. So basically, me and my team was
Mm.
offered to live there, and
Mm.
I feel like a lot of this is about building like the social asset. So maybe the social asset is like the right word for it. Like we have a social asset that we need to build on top of like the work or like
Mm.
performance asset. Yeah.
Does it mean that you need to spend more time at work, like outside of work, or is it just more of
Um,
how you approach conversations and
Not
yeah.
necessarily outside of work, but it's your
Mm.
choice. Maybe
Okay.
when you were young you can, but now at this age I don't really like spending so much time anymore.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think I'm a bit more like inclined towards if you have a good team, then
Yes.
you have to, as a leader, pretty much you have to be a bit more vulnerable sometimes. Not like too much
Mm.
information, but you kind of like share your maybe share a pain or share your observation so that they feel
Mm.
like, oh yeah, you are at the same level as me. You're not like only my manager. You have the same issues. So for
Mm.
one example is that like one of my managers in the past always asked me for opinions about like, in one-on-ones, maybe about like work or maybe about like personal decisions. Like for example, where should I travel to this year? Do you think like this will be a good
Mm.
idea? So I mean, and what kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, food that you
S-
want to cook, for example. So
So
even,
it's
yeah,
yeah. If I were to summarize it, it feels a little bit like showing trust,
yeah,
showing respect,
yeah,
and making people feel valued,
yeah,
which is actually what good leadership is about,
yeah,
right? And then somehow you're able to do it naturally.
yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm not a really social person. I'm not an
Mm.
extrovert, and I have a lot of walls around me sometimes. Like I don't want to share, but I think it's important as a leader that you have to build this kind of like mentality that, yeah, once you're a lead, then you need to build psychological safety around you. Yeah.
Mm,
Mm.
I love where we're going with that.
Mm.
And and what would be your general advice in building psychological safety as a leader in a high tempo team, especially? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's providing spaces in
Mm,
one-on-ones to not only talk about work. Actually, I
mm,
hate talking about work in one-on-ones. um, I mean, it depends on the person, but I try to steer away from like work if possible because we have
mm,
another meeting.
mm,
And then if they don't share, sometimes they feel like they're afraid to share. I would share first.
mm,
Maybe, hey, I've been doing this. Maybe I've been cycling to this in over the weekend, and I found this place that's really good. So kind of
yeah,
like opening up yourself first, and then the
yeah.
second part is kind of like do like cadences of like teams, not like really bonding only, but maybe like retros every quarter, maybe just to get a sense of how the team is
Mm,
feeling.
yeah. Ways of
And
working. Yeah.
yeah, ways of working. And some
Mm.
people actually do like work with me guides. I don't know if you have heard about that.
I do have one, and I read about it in a book written by Stripe Press, and I
Yeah.
shared it with direct reports, and then some of them laugh. And I
Yeah.
say, yeah, it's not completely accurate, Dalen. Like, here's something that's missing. But
Yeah.
I do have one. I do have one. What about you? Do
Yeah.
you have one?
I don't have one, but I have tried to write one. But I
Yeah.
feel it's a good starting point. My ex-manager
Mm.
used to have one, so basically he shared like, "Hey, this is how to work with me," and then it's
Yeah.
like a 1 or 2 pages of Google Docs
Yeah. Yeah.
how to work with me. So I think that would really, oh yeah, it's fine to like be honest and be upfront about things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how people see it. Like some people feel like, hey, that's absolutely egoistic and pretentious. But I get what you mean. The whole idea of having that document is so that people don't have to learn about
Yeah.
your habits, your quirks, and your preferences, right? So they can
Mm-hmm.
get on board quite quickly. Um, I guess one of the things that you were mentioning about like onboarding people, showing care, showing trust and respect, and
Mm,
how that really helps to onboard people and get them comfortable and ease into the team quite quickly. I'm just wondering, have you seen any good examples of like as you said, this is like a UX, right? Of employee experience. Like, what
mm.
about employee onboarding? Like, have you seen any
Yeah.
good examples in the companies you work for? Yeah.
Yeah. I would just say outright Shopify was the best employee onboarding
Mm,
experience I've had. It's primarily because they have like um employees or staff who are specialized in this. So
mm,
they would organize sessions and one-on-ones for new employees. And these sessions contain like, explaining about like how we work, what the culture is like, what you're expected to do in the 30, 60, 90 days, for example. And they will send you like, yeah, I mean the materials are like so professionally done, like the videos and
mm,
they send us a book as well, like a employee handbook, but it's not like really serious. It's kind of like a really
mm,
nicely made book. And then I think my manager used to really emphasize on building relationships. So she always said, yeah, don't worry about your first 3 months. Worry about building relationships. So basically, the first 3 months you have to be doing or talking one on one with a lot of people. And don't worry about shipping stuff in the first 3 months. So I think that really uh alleviate the burden of like constantly proving yourself in the first 3 months, and just like
mm.
focus on like properly onboarding yourself into the company and the work and the culture. Yeah,
Do you feel compassionate leadership was embedded into Shopify?
I think it as a system, it does. They put a lot of emphasis on individuality, like different kind of like personality. they have like profile pages of all employees with the personality types,
mm,
and I think they do have coaching, as like
mm,
psychological coaching. They have like internal
mm,
coaches to really
mm,
solve your problem. So I used
mm,
once because I felt like I was
mm,
not like up to the standard because yeah, imposter
mm,
syndrome. So basically they had these coaches who wanted to talk to us. And I think for manager level, it depends on the manager. But I feel like
mm,
I've on the company level, it's designed to be compassionate. Yeah,
mm. That's really interesting because I think we've moved from being an individual compassionate leader to a
yeah,
system that practices compassionate leadership.
yeah,
And what else do you remember from that
yeah.
makes you well, I mean, you can compare because you've worked for different companies that really feels very different, right? What do you think they have thoughtfully designed in their employee experience? Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's about I feel like onboarding is the large part of it.
large part of it. Okay.
Yeah, because when you join a company, you feel nervous, right? And the company also feels
Mm,
nervous. And
mm,
when you design it in such a way that it helps you and helps the company, it
mm,
sets you up for success and then it leaves you feeling good about it. And then the
mm,
other part is kind of like whether they have a checkpoint like years
mm.
after, like every year almost. I've been in a company that send out employee survey, but then they never publish the employee survey.
I never
So
share it. Yeah.
never share it like publicly. So I feel
Mm,
like it's not good to do that. So I feel like
mm,
if you have to like really commit to employee experience, you have to commit it like all out.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I also feel as you're describing Shopify and its employee experience to me, it almost feels like the entire process or the entire system
yeah,
has sufficient support, but also
yes,
sufficient room,
yeah,
as you were talking about earlier,
yeah,
for you to experiment and for you to like fail a little bit, right? So
yeah,
you don't feel like your stakes are absolutely high.
yeah.
Um, and I wonder how does this as a manager, right? Like you Shopify having this embedded into their system and their way of working
Mm,
versus other companies you've seen, which has a little bit more lackluster kind of employee onboarding experience.
yeah.
What's the difference you see, right? Like people coming on board your team with Shopify versus like other teams. Like what do you notice?
I feel like maybe one thing inevitable is the the scale and the money they have, I guess. um,
Hmm.
but the other thing is, yeah, as like money and scale aside, I mean, if you really, I feel like Shopify really sees individuals not as employees, but like
As partners.
a partner. Yes, exactly.
Mm,
And
mm,
this is reflected even like during the interview phase when the first part of the interview was called life story, which I'm promoting Shopify a lot here, but I mean life story, which is like more kind of like not related to your work, but like if you take your life from the beginning to now, how can you narrate your story? So it's kind of like understanding you as an individual more than like a designer, more than an engineer, or more than like a manager. So
mm,
I feel like the
mm,
deep appreciation of like a
mm,
person as a human being and not a resource or a number.
mm.
I mean, okay lah. I mean, companies probably will fall into like these
Yeah,
buckets at some point in time. But yeah, I mean,
yeah. I
during
mean,
my
the
time,
fact
it was
that
great.
that human resource is called resource. HR is
Yeah,
called resource, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Should be a human
Um,
experience.
yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned that. So what I hear you say is that it makes you feel valued, and because you feel valued, you feel like when you want to contribute more, you feel like
Mm,
you're a partner with some stake in it, and you don't
yep,
feel forced to do anything. And I
yep,
think I think it's such a hard balance to strike. I recognize that as a leader as well,
yep,
because it's just so hard to sense like, hey, does this person need more time to
mm,
onboard, to ease into the role, or is this person just really slow and
mm,
really incompetent, right?
yep,
And I made a poor hiring decision,
mm.
right? So it's kind of like I sometimes I ask myself that question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think to be honest, I think it's yeah, I agree with you. It's hard. So I don't think like I want to force this concept of like you have to be compassionate leader
Mm,
in every circumstance. I feel like for me it kind of like works, and I want to do more of it. Even in times when it's hard. Um, but yeah, I've never led like a startup or maybe founded a company. Maybe when I found one, maybe I will change my mind.
mm.
I'm not quite sure.
But I think we've been approaching this topic by sort of like motivation and performance point of
Yeah,
view. I'm also very curious, like,
yeah,
let's say you are someone who practices compassionate leadership,
mm,
but when things get tough, what happens, right? That's also an angle I'm interested to know before we wrap up the conversation.
mm,
Um, how does your
yeah.
team behave around you when things get tough? Because you demonstrated compassionate leadership, how do they behave versus like other managers who treat them as a resource?
Yeah, I feel like so one example that I remember the most is back in 2019. I think I was like given a direct report from another manager,
Mm,
and little did I know that I worked with him before as a peer, but then little did I know he was on PIP.
mm,
So I was like, so I was handed over this person, and then I had to work through like the PIP. And so the first thing I understand, like, what is the like what is the issue that you're having here, and what how can I help? So basically, the feedback was like he wasn't really like updating his team. He wasn't really like
mm,
communicating with his team members like engineers and product managers. And then I
mm,
asked him what went wrong, and he mentioned that he has always been wanted to be promoted. Like he's been there for like 3 to 4 years, maybe yeah 4 years, and then he's not really promoted into like the next level. So he was like kind
mm,
of like in a low morale kind of situation. He's not performing well. So I mentioned to him, hey, here's what you need to do to like to step up. I'm giving him like this
mm.
like
Guide.
career guide, right? Career path sort of
Mm,
thing, and we
mm,
can work together. Like maybe in the first 3 months or two, in the first month, maybe you need to work on your communication, like be more like up to date with your communication. And in the second month, what you do is maybe you step up on your quality and everything, and you have like 6 months before the next appraisal. And then unfortunately, I got
mm,
laid off like 3 months after, and and then
mm. You got laid off.
I got laid off like for
Mm, mm,
not for performance
mm,
reasons, just like a COVID time. And then
mm,
he was still there. And then like 3 or 6 months later, I can't remember when, he WhatsApped me, right? And hey
mm.
Sigit, because of your guidance, I got promoted finally. So I feel like
Wow.
yeah, I mean he doesn't have to like tell me it was because of me, but he did.
Mm,
So I felt like maybe my approach then not really like judging him and like more like helping him,
mm. Yeah.
it worked. And I feel like that's the payoff that I feel like the best, because even after you left for a long time, they still remember you. Yeah,
And in some way, you change his career trajectory because
that's
he
right.
would
Yeah,
either feel very, very dejected and move on to his next role, feeling dejected.
yeah,
But
yeah,
instead of that, he feels confident about his own skills
yeah.
and ability, and after being promoted, right?
I'm sure it's
Um,
all about him and his work. It's not about me. But he
mm,
he took the effort to WhatsApp me out of the blue,
mm,
just to like, hey,
mm,
thank you for everything. So
yeah.
yeah.
I feel that, sometimes whatever we do as leaders, it may not often be appreciated at that point in time, right? Sometimes
Yes.
what we do, people don't really get it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But it's only like much later that people appreciate it, and like maybe when you leave or after you leave, then they're like, "Oh man, I
Mm,
really appreciate that, right? That
that's
something
right.
you
Yes.
did." Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, that's really interesting. Um, do you feel, as a last question,
Mm,
before we wrap up, do you
of
feel
course.
compassionate leadership can is situational, right? Meaning
Mm.
you apply depending on the situation, you apply different levels of compassion towards a person.
Yes, I
Um,
believe so. Yeah. Um,
mm,
I think some people maybe they need more guidance and more like, clarity. Um,
mm,
I don't know, toughness. Maybe like maybe they like
mm.
being treated that
Yeah.
way. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
So you still have to be tough, right? It's not
yeah,
compassionate leadership doesn't mean you're not firm,
yeah, yeah,
and you're soft, but compassionate leadership is situational. So if the situation warrants it, you can be tough.
yeah. And some people maybe
Mm,
they so I would say like maybe some people know what they do, they can perform really well, but they just need some moral support, right? So in that case, maybe I would need more. I would give more moral support to this person, but like maybe the other person, hey, just be firm on me. I don't mind. Maybe that's the best way
I
for
think
me
some
to.
people thrive in that kind of a working
Yeah,
relationship. Yeah,
that's right.
like
That's right.
they like that,
Yeah,
and that's what they prefer.
yeah.
Cool.
Coming back to the chef analogy,
Mm,
where like every
yeah.
person has their own.
Yeah, someone prefers a Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen, or
Yeah.
versus like some I don't know who's the nice chef over here, but or maybe like Martin Yen. Yen can cook.
Yeah,
Right.
could be. Yeah.
So well, since we're talking about leadership here, what's an advice you would give to new managers
Mm.
who is now taking on a people manager's role and really trying to apply compassionate leadership, but is struggling to do so, and having people tell him or her, "You're too soft," right? So what's an advice that you want to give?
Uh, yeah, I guess being compassionate doesn't necessarily mean you have to be soft all the time or like even
Mm,
soft at some time. It just means that you have to understand people. Even if you manage up, you understand people also. You understand your manager and the other person. You manage around, you understand people. And going down, you also understand people. So I think maybe start looking at people as human beings.
mm,
I know we have targets and a high tempo and everything, but at the same time, maybe start to look them into their eyes. I don't know, like this is so romantic, but I mean, like yeah, they are human beings with needs and ambitions as well. So we need to start
mm.
like treating them as one.
Okay. And
Mm.
any quick thoughts about AI replacing what we do?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I don't have a strong opinion on this, but I feel like this compassionate team is gonna be like our savior in not being replaced, I guess. um because then if
Mm,
you have a good maybe you have a smaller team more and more because like AI can replace some of your team members, but with whatever
mm,
size team you have, this is your
mm,
opportunity to not be an AI and then be a human being.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful perspective because as I also jokingly tell others, AI AI doesn't believe in God, right? AI has no faith. AI cannot pray.
Yeah.
And as you said, right? AI doesn't is not. compassionate.
Yeah.
And while it's slowly creeping into our work
Mm.
process as product designers, as product managers, uh, yeah, but it has its limitations, and we're still working with human beings over
Mm-hmm.
here, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps we need to practice it even more, especially now our teams are even more um, diverse, right? They are not
Yes.
necessarily like from the same culture that we are.
Mm.
Maybe we need even more compassionate leadership in our organizations so that we can manage better as leaders. What do
You
you
sum
think?
it up perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm really glad to have you here today, Sigit, and thanks for,
Likewise.
distilling like 17 years of your experience into one conversation, and
No worries.
sharing them with us, and also selling Shopify in the process. I understand, I understand you are looking for your next gig. Is
Yes.
there is there anything you want to shout out and you want to like let people know like what you're looking out for and stuff like that? Because we got lots of listeners from
Yeah.
Europe and from the US. Yeah.
Yeah, 2026, I'm looking for another opportunity. So I'm basically what I'm looking for is a team with a good culture and a good mission to boot, a good product as
Mm,
well. I don't mind the
mm,
size, but yeah,
hmm.
um,
Excellent.
yeah,
And you are a Singapore PR, so you can work in Singapore and also in
yes,
Indonesia if they are
yes,
interested in the
that's right.
Indonesian
Yes,
market.
actually, I'm open to
Um,
any market in the world. It's just,
yeah, exactly. I remember your portfolio. You have like a lot of
yeah,
regional work, including Japan.
yes,
So
yeah.
excellent. Well, I wish you all the best in your next gig.
Thank you, Dalen.
And we'll keep in touch as well, and we'll discuss more. And I hope you get good opportunities from this conversation, and I hope
Appreciate it.
someone leaves this conversation inspired about rethinking their leadership style.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Let me just